Hi, this is Max Rempel, and I'm repeating my global update. This time, I will try to make it more listenable and more understandable. So, the main subject is that the update is optimistic. I think the global events are moving in a positive direction. And the structure of this update would be to address this specific point, that the direction is positive. Although the events seem negative, the global direction is positive. So my first evidence is purely intuitive. Sometime in October, a few months ago. Today is January 11, 2022. So in October 21, 3 months ago, I just felt that the situation changed to the better. It was purely intuitive feeling, and it was about the global situation. It just felt that the matrix has adjusted or was adjusted by the divine influence, and now we are moving in a much more positive direction. The second point, again, the second evidence or the second explanation why things go well is that I think the civilization will survive the attack, and the attack will actually serve in the end point, or later it will be clear that the attack on the humanity had a positive effect. Obviously, the world is being run by the criminals, by the global mafia, by the secret government, which is largely breaking its own rules. Actually, it has its rules which disagree with the human rules. And my understanding is that the main work or the main business of the global government is to run the Earth Corporation for producing the experts for the galaxy. This is in agreement with what Richard Dolan called runaway civilization, basically humans, secret military programs, secret intelligence programs, obtained alien technologies, and were assisted by not so good aliens, mostly Orions and Aryans, and Greys. And the aliens gave the secret government, the secret space program, they gave enough technologies so the secret space program became galactic. They went out of the planet, they connected to the outside aliens and started exporting the goods from the planet. Until the humans did it, I think the aliens were doing it, but the humans, the secret faction of the humans, the global elite, they just grabbed the business. And I think starting from maybe middle of the 20th century, maybe a little early, but certainly in the 70s, they expanded this business, pushed away the aliens from this business, and now they are running the exports. I think they are exporting the minerals, gold and other valuable minerals. I'm aware of exports of water, so the planet is exporting water, and also they export slaves and skilled contractors to the galaxy. They also do manufacturing of goods which are technological goods which are imported by the galaxy. So how do I know these things? First, these are channelings by Jim Charles. I've been speaking to a lot of aliens, and some of them were very knowledgeable about this situation, and some of the discarnate humans who explain the situation Also, you can listen to Michael Salla, the Exopolitics by Michael Salla. He has a lot of information, and which I think is pretty good. Maybe it's not 100% good, but the major picture I think is correct. And then there is a lot of whistleblowers, and Richard Dolan, I think, is a great source. He wrote books based on the documents. There are other channelers, and there is a whole community of people who track this information and cross-check the sources. And I think, and a lot of books, by the way. I think the best books to start with are by Jim Marrs with 2R. Jim Marrs spelled with 2R. So until recently, I was under impression that there are two governments. There is like a good government and a bad government. There is proper Earth governments and proper Earth corporations, proper Earth military, and there are wicked criminals which go against the system. And finally, very recently, like maybe a couple of weeks ago, I listened to a presentation by someone who studied at elite private school in the UK. It was a Russian talk. And what he described explained that what we thought were secret societies of secret alternative societies, secret satanic societies, or other criminal societies. What we were thinking about Masons and other negative societies. We were thinking that these are alternatives, but what came out from his presentation is that this is the mainstream. So the mainstream elite of the planet is the secret satanic society, which makes a lot of sense. There is no other elite. I mean, there is no other dominant elite or major elite which is good. I mean, we are being run by criminals. And I think it was like that in old times. In very old times, we were run completely by the aliens, but then the aliens outsourced the management of the civilization to humans and appointed human pharaohs and tsars, kings, tribe leaders, and so on. And this actually worked really nicely because humans were under impression, under the delusion that they were independent and did things by themselves. So I think that's a major delusion, especially in the West. In the East, in Russia and Eastern countries, Far East, China, and all Muslim countries, I think people are content and used to the idea that they're being run by criminals, that the government is the major criminal around, and they're not surprised by that. They consider that to be a norm. Elon Musk recently defined government as a corporation with a monopoly on violence, which is, I think, is pretty much in agreement with the above statement. So recently, in the last half a century, and especially in the last 20 years, the whole planet went the process of Americanization and Westernization. Especially it's visible in Russia, where the language is very much Americanized. There is a huge flood of modern English words. Russians learn English now and absorb the American lifestyle. And I think the same happens in China and all over the world, with very few exceptions. I hear that the Americanization of Chile went in full way in the last 40 or so years. And I don't think Americans are participating in this a lot. There are the cultural influence goes through movies, videos, YouTube, social networks, products, and internet. And only a few corporations, few businesses actually produce this Americanization, while the population of America is not actually participating much. But what is happening that the American delusion that the government is their representative has spilled over onto the planet through their movies. So now other countries, the East, which was under the impression that criminal government is the norm, is now taking an American delusion that American dream or delusional dream that the government can be actually good and be representative of the people and be benevolent. And I think this benevolent delusion might manifest in reality in the next 10 to 50 years. And what will happen after a certain set of events, which I will hopefully touch upon, the current evil government, evil secret elite, will be exposed, its crimes, it will expose its own crimes and its own anti-human behaviors and intentions. It will expose its own satanistic behaviors. It will go too far, and there will be a backlash when the humanity will realize that the global government needs to be changed. And at that time, the humans of the planet will elect a better government or series of better governments, which will be more reflective of the ideals of the population, which is pretty idealistic, which becomes more idealistic. So I think the planet evolves, and this evolution is divine. We go through a set of vibrations, and as the vibrations of the matrix evolve, the humans are adapting to that, and the population changes, and the changes in the population, in the moods and beliefs of the population, are reflecting into the government. I think the current government, unfortunately, or normally, naturally corresponds to the state of the mind, confused state of the mind of the current average population. There are some enlightened people who want something more benevolent, but since people are somewhat confused, somewhat wicked, somewhat self-destructive, they allow for the government which we have now. So I think that's the main positive message, that things evolve okay, that even we have a big tendency towards totalitarianism and towards medical dictatorship. I think these tendencies will not manifest in full. I think these tendencies will only partly manifest. We will learn the lessons. We personally will learn the lessons, and humanity will learn the lessons. And then there will be a backlash when the humanity will gradually awaken through waves of disclosure of secrets and awakening, and will gradually replace the completely wicked, largely wicked government with more benevolent global governments. When I'm saying global, I think that is a typical galactic development. So civilization of the scale of ours must be global. It is already happening, and this wave of global takeover of power by medical dictatorship actually is natural for the state of the global economy and global society, and it will evolve into a more cooperative planet. Currently it is done through available means by the negative, by the elite, and they serve their own purposes. They keep the economy floating, and they prevent it from the complete crash by taking over the power and strengthening the mind control. I think the next stage of the mind control is going to be a combination of the popular medical procedure. I'm recording this for YouTube, so we call this V word, we call it the popular medical procedure, and which includes an injection. So the combination of this substance, injected substance, with 5G technologies, with electromagnetic technologies, and smartphones actually, will allow them to brainwash and mind control the people. And the centralized, or at least global centralized computer systems will exert their control over individuals, and each individual will have their own computer control. So the computer control will be custom made and personalized. So each person is many people already are now getting individual personalized social media feeds, and opportunities are being sent their way by the internet, and this will I think is destined to expand in current situation. China and Russia already have tracing of individuals electronically, and in Russia and China it's not possible to do almost anything without electronic tracing. People have to demonstrate their electronic signature QR code from their smartphone, and this allows tracing, and this allows introducing so-called social score, which allows the system to manipulate individuals. So now the mind control and manipulations are individualized and personalized for each person. This would allow the secret government to motivate people to be compliant, work according to their interests, the global government's interests, and this solves the ancient problem. This will solve the ancient problem that people are in Soviet type of society. They are unmotivated, although the government has all the rights to do projects which are beneficial for the populations at large. And so that's the problem. No motivation and inefficiency of the government. And in the West, the Western system is lots of motivation for self enrichment and expanding own wealth, but the government is helpless in helpless and also unable to do projects of benefits for everybody. Like China demonstrates that they can do certain projects for the benefits of the whole country, of the society at large. They build wonderful road infrastructure, the internet, and lots of other projects. Although it's clumsy, but they're capable of big projects, which are somehow the government has the rights and the resources to do that. Now, with the electronic mind control and individual control, personalized individual control, the computerized system can achieve the same with more efficiency. Obviously, in the first stages, it will be clumsy, as it is clumsy in Russia, but it might improve. So this, again, is a mixed message. On one hand, there is a loss of freedoms, a loss of freedom of choice and free will on the side of individuals. On the other hand, there is an opportunity for the planet for the first time in its history to become actually efficient and induce cooperation and prosperity. So I think it is possible and likely that the current evil secret government will actually lead to prosperity. Maybe not of everybody, but the prosperity of the people will continue to increase. Although it doesn't seem to us, I think now, or maybe the last 10 years, is the most prosperous years on the planet. And this prosperity might continue. Obviously, so that's a positive message. I'll split here into two directions. First, that another reason for optimism is that this planet, by its nature, and this matrix of the planet by its nature, doesn't allow complete totalitarianism. And this matrix is programmed in such a way that the free will and freedom of choice of individuals is the number one priority. I don't know if there is anything else which is of higher priority in the divine design of this matrix. So this world absolutely requires free choice. So even in Russia and China, where there are advances of totalitarian control, there are still opportunities for people to choose, and the computerized control has an advisory function, basically. There is a lot of ways to interpret the law, interpret the advice, so people still have lots of freedoms, including the freedom to disconnect from the matrix from the internet. They have to choose between the old way of living and the new way of living, and the new way of living gives them benefits, material benefits, and even entertainment benefits. They can actually become happier by being in the system. So I should mention that it's another good point which gives us hope, is that the secret government is not in complete control. They are playing their game, but their powers are donated them by people, by population. As long as people give them the power, they are in power. But as soon as the people awaken, they can take away the power from the secret global government. Also, the secret government is dependent on secrecy, and its work is somewhat inefficient. So they can achieve certain things, like they achieve this attack on humanity by spreading the infection, artificially seeding and spreading the infection. And they have, I'm sure they have more infections in their freezers to spread. But I think they somewhat achieved their purposes and goals, so they only seeded as much infection as they needed to grab the control. They might seed more infections, introduce more of the popular medical procedures to improve their quality of mind control, but I think they try to keep the system manageable. So their main purpose is to actually have the system running smoothly. That's my understanding. They're not completely evil, although they rely on Satanists with the agenda of reducing the world population. I don't think the top is that evil. I think the Satanists are only the part of the system, but not the controllers of the system. It's just easier to manipulate people who are trained in elite schools and whose psyche is broken and trained to obey. So now the future scenarios. I think they play by the ear, and they don't actually know what will happen. They have lots of scenarios, and they will play accordingly. The top is absolutely secret, and none of the current public figures even knows who is at the top. They're all being manipulated. So the top is playing the game, which is very safe. And even if the whole current structure will be exposed, the top leaders will have their own plan. And in any case, they can come up nice and clean because they are not the ones who are doing the crime. I think they are handlers, handle the situation through many layers. That's my understanding. So I think their resources are limited, but from our perspective are pretty big. They have alien technologies, and very few of them are aliens, like reptilians and greys, Zeta reptilians and Zeta greys, but the majority are just advanced humans with Earth humans with advanced technologies. And the aliens which manage us are pretty much immortal. They have been running the planet from the beginning of the humanity, from the Atlantean times, and even pre-Atlantean times. And they have the technology of transferring their consciousness from one body to another, so they where the body died, they just transfer the consciousness, the mind and the memories to a new body. So they are pretty much immortal. They are not in a hurry, and they are planning to see it through for a while. And I think they understand the major tendency or the major divine plan to let the humans grow and actually manage themselves. So the aliens, there are very few aliens which are at the top. They eventually will release the control and give away the control to actual benevolent humans, when benevolent humans are ready to take it. Obviously, the planet is scheduled and is overdue to become galactic, open, and be aware of the surrounding galactic community, and become accepted to that galactic community. There is a process, and this requires the population of the planet to become aware and to desire to enter the galactic community. And then we would get some help, not a lot of help, but some help. The amount of help actually depends. There are certain projects outside which are ready to jump in and proceed with uh, converting the planet to from isolated planet to integrate the planet in the galactic community. So essentially what they do is to help the planet to develop its own non-corrupt government, pretty much central government and local governments, central and local governments, and they help people, protect these governments from corruption and takeover. So that's a difficult but possible process, and they're trained on other planets to do that. So there is a program for that. And then gradually the planet acquires technologies, and they oversee that the technologies are not used for self-destruction. And the main choices for the population would be to choose the ways to allow the galactic visitors to the planet and develop its own and integrate, basically. There is a lot of ways to integrate, and we have resources, and our culture is interesting, so lots of aliens want to visit and want to settle here. There is lots of aliens who want to settle here and trade technologies for the right to settle. And the humanity will have to define and restrict the rate and develop the rate at which it absorbs the incomers and protects itself from the trouble. Basically, it's too many visitors would bring the trouble, even if they are enlightened and well-wishing. The certain speed with of acceptance should be developed. Also, they want to hybridize with us, and many of the first visitors are going to be human-alien hybrids who are eager to settle here and reunite with the humanity. So we'll see a lot of hybrid humans, and again, to a certain extent it is a very healthy process, because the hybrids are partly us and partly they already adapted to the alien life. So that would be healthy, but too much of hybridization might bring some global biological trouble. So that's another thing to consider. So that's the plan for the next 50 years. It is largely positive. The nearest developments can go in different ways. For example, most likely the current countries as governments will persist, but the globalization will happen on the corporate level. Essentially, the economy will be run by global corporations, while government will lose much of the control. So that's a very likely scenario. But also there will be possibly wars which will be organized, manipulated, instigated by the global elite, and these wars will serve the purpose to distract the people and introduce more stricter military control and police control and authoritarian control over the populations. So while the wars will be running, the globalization will proceed, and the wars would likely lead to some sort of economical trouble, and then this will lead to global government taking over the control of the planet and bringing prosperity to the people. So people will take the help of global government and release and agree to lose their local government. So essentially, it's most likely the argument will be economical. People will to receive economical help, the countries will forfeit their right for the independence, give away their independence. And now another interesting and positive development although scary, of all the developments are pretty scary, but they in the long run they lead to positive developments, is the development of telepathy. So mind control will deliver some information to people without electronic mind control, electromagnetic mind control, without actual with non-traditional ways. Basically, the information will be inputted into people's heads electronically. So people will develop and adapt to that exchange of information with the electronic system through the electromagnetic waves and possibly some other waves. And we can call them subtle waves or scalar waves. Anyway, humans will develop that ability to exchange information with the internet electronically or wirelessly. So brains will exchange information with the system wirelessly. And this will force people to awaken to our natural ability for telepathy. Currently, many people are telepathic, but they use their telepathic ability only, or intuitive ability, in a very limited way. But we are biologically capable of much more expanded telepathic communication, and again, we are overdue to develop it. And the current mind control technologies will actually, the current mind control technologies which are being introduced by the secret government will actually facilitate the awakening of telepathy on the planet. And this is a very positive development, which is in line with our biological and spiritual evolution, and it will lead us to an evolutionary jump. So how to survive these changes? There is a lot of scary and dramatic things happening, and will be happening in the next 10 to 50 years. And a lot of people, many people already died, and the question is how to survive that. Basically, the vibration and the informational, the drama changes, the setup of the situation changes, and some people find themselves incompatible, so their souls choose to leave this, not minds, but the souls choose to leave that drama. So the ones which are here, you guys, us, we are here because first we adopted, and second because it is interesting to us. Whatever is happening, the drama is of interest. It helps our spiritual development, and it is just interesting. That's it. So the main criterion of surviving is that you are interested in what is happening. And the fact that you are listening here and listen to that point is that it's possibly interesting to you what is happening, and possibly you will be able to find lessons in what is happening and actually store the development of yourself and the society in a more positive direction. The Earth experience is optimized for the drama. Basically, the events which are happening produce a lot of drama, yet in the long term they should keep the system going. And that's the main principle how this matrix and the planet are designed. And basically, two factors. The experiment should continue, the experience should continue, and that is the first factor. And the second factor, the drama should be high. And that's why so many souls are interested in living here now and being part of this transformation. So you ended up in this timeline and in this drama because your soul was attracted here, and that is karma, your personal karma and our collective karma, which needs to be healed and resolved. Part of this karma is the self-destruction, suicide of Atlantis civilization some 20 to 70,000 years ago, 23 to 70,000 years ago. Atlantis killed itself, and the population of that time reincarnated now, mostly in the United States, to relive the same drama, but in a with a positive outcome. And we have a chance to repeat the suicide, the collective suicide, but also we have a chance to go through and resolve it in a positive direction. Atlantis was an open society. It had aliens, and they were a galactic society. They had high technologies, and the main purpose of the civilization, divine purpose, was to develop the body. They weren't humans, they were a parallel, the previous race. So Atlanteans reincarnated as humans, but genetically it was a previous race. They were human-like, but not humans. Humans at that time already existed, and they were primitive tribes on outskirts of the Atlantis. And the main divine purpose of our race is the development of the mind. And we are doing okay here. So the Atlanteans were experimenting with genetic engineering, developing the body, and they went too far and became too evil and too self-serving in this genetic experimentation. They violated the main principle of this planet, the rule of free will, and they restricted the free will of some of the genetic constructs. They created too many slaves, which were restricted in the life experience, and that caused the need to destroy their experiment. So that was their mistake, and hopefully humanity will not repeat that mistake and will not create genetic slaves, genetically modified human slaves, or whatever slaves. And I think we are doing here just fine. Our culture is not too much focused on slavery, and genetic manipulation is not too popular yet. So now what can you do personally for the benefit of the planet? I don't think there is much needed to do at the moment. It is mostly personal experience. You're observing the situation, paying attention, perceiving it, and remaining positive and happy is the key of what you need to do. Somehow absorbing it is tough. It's like I got used to these ideas. I'm speaking about that without much pain, and without much pain. There is some pain of speaking about this, but I got used to that pain, and I think I'm adapting to these ideas. For me, the realization that all these fears have actually positive outcome. Many of these fears can have positive outcome. I think the main transformation that I did, and I invite you to do the same, to look soberly at the current situation and see how it is logical, natural, and it is actually one of the most optimal. We are at the most optimal situation at the moment. It might have been much worse. The situation might have developed much worse, and we are still, the civilization is still alive. Most of the people are still alive, and there is a really good chance to actually go through the transformations and resolve. So just you looking and absorbing and transforming the experience is the key. And then obviously helping others to awaken. I think the format which I'm doing right now, I think, is one of the easiest formats, is basically speaking up and developing the following and joining other communities and actually communing with others. Essentially, we are to do it together, and we should find people who are karmically attracted to us and join with them and develop communities, local and remote communities. So finding local people is relatively easy. Now there are tools like local Facebook groups, meetup.com, Nextdoor, and just walk into the place where people communicate and starting talking to people. That is very, very easy. And then finding others and dancing with them. It's actually dancing, meditating, talking, drinking, hiking, and helping others actually helps. And that's, I think, what can be done. And also doing small business and large business. Just doing things. Doing things is also great. I'm doing as much as I can. My style is adapted for my purposes and my body and my mind, but your style might be quite different. You actually might join whatever large group and work there, even medicine. Even within the medical dictatorship, there are people who are good and can do good there. So anywhere, the military, the intelligence, the police, the administration, corporations, anywhere. Consider that the planet goes through a totalitarian stage, so being closer and using opportunities. There is a lot of opportunity. Because of the change, there is a lot of opportunities. So grabbing these opportunities, jumping into the system and transforming it from inside is also a positive way. You don't have to withdraw. Although you hate it, you might find that there are even the evil people. They have some of them do positive things, and some of them have actually positive fragments of the soul. So it's doable. And healing is also great. Healing, energy healing, being a healer, healing souls and healing bodies is a great way to express yourself and adapt and help yourself adapt and help others to adapt to the situation. With that, I bless you all. Take it easy and enjoy the ride. It's all right. Ola ya 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 na 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 umma ya na ya na ola ya na umma ya na umma mama 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 umma ayahana hana hana ayahana hana hana ya umma mama 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 mama